Well, Rome doesn't really have a page template feature yet. Consistent metadata seems to be the way to go. And I'll show you what I've been doing with that and how to make it pretty simple to do. So suppose I'm reading along and I see this great article from Nat. I think a lot of you have seen it. If not, check it out, natellison.com/blog/Rome. Just a great overview of Rome that you can see he keeps adding more stuff to. Great overview. But say I saw this, I'm like, I read it, took some notes, whatever, and I want to remember it. So I'd probably put that in my daily notes and said, read this great article today. Whatever I want to put around it, and put the full title in. It makes a page. So I go into that page now. It's kind of a blank template. And so here's where I have this metadata shortcut I've created. So if I shift click, it opens it in the sidebar. And it's basically just a bunch of different things I've put together. If I want to track books or articles, I'll go through some of those in a minute. But if I look at articles, this is an article, so cool. So I'll just copy this stuff and paste it at the top. Now, a couple of thoughts here. Some people use like keyboard shortcuts for that, and that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that for sure. And then also people used to often nest it under like metadata. They put metadata at the top, oops, down the line, and then like indented all that under it. That seems to not probably be the best way to go. Just if you get into queries and other stuff later, having it flat at the top seems to be the best way to go. So in here though, I can put Nat. And this is of course going to test one. I often have a bunch of other stuff in here already, but tag it with Rome and maybe productivity. Whatever you want to do, it's an article, topics and tags kind of overlap a little bit, but whatever. You can play with this however you want. So I'll take the URL to it, paste it here. In my case, I often throw a copy in Pocket as well, just in case the original goes away. So I would go into here, save it to Pocket, and then paste that link in here. Do what you want. And then the summary is just my notes. This could be notes I've highlighted. Again, I do it through Pocket so I can keep highlights and then just pull all the highlights over at once when I'm done, just a cut and paste. Or highlight like in Kindle, those kinds of things. Some people may have handwritten notes as they're reading an article or whatever. You can put the notes directly in here. But either way, I'll just put in the summary. I usually will indent that. Quotes from the article, links to things. He may mention something else. I can put that in brackets to make a page about that and dig into that a little bit more. But that's basically how I do that for articles. And then again, I have all this metadata for different things. And so we have books, which has the same kind of stuff, pretty similar, but the reading status is an important one, and I have a books video coming out that'll talk about that. Podcasts, I don't use much. I tend to listen to podcasts in the car, but a few times I've heard a great one, so I've come back to my desk, listened to it again, and took notes live in here as I heard it, just for usefulness. People, if you get into like the personal CRM kind of thing, this is kind of a starter for people. In my case, for the most part, I just tag people while I'm going, like I did Nat here. I don't often follow up and fill all this stuff out, but I think over time I will, and for some folks I have, but when I want to, I can just paste that stuff in. It gives me a good starter. Videos, for watching YouTube videos or whatever, same kind of thing there. I'll often embed them at the bottom. Any blog posts I read, which gets into articles, kind of similar, but there's that there. And then projects I want to work on if I have that going. And then my weekly preview. I have a big bunch of notes here I'm going to do a video on later. And then the quarterly preview is similar. And that's kind of my metadata there. So hopefully this is helpful. And again, it's just a matter of opening up whichever one you need and copying and pasting just these sub items, which then become top level when you paste them over on the side here. And having it in the sidebar makes it pretty easy to do. So there's different ways you can do it. This has worked well for me. And note that I have all this on a public Rome instance now. So if you were to go to Rome Research and put in Mickey Public with capital M, capital P, and a dash in between, that'll get you into this Rome instance, and you can do whatever you want to do and copy those out, save them in yours. Could give you a good starting point at least. Hopefully that helps. Thanks.